Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles, and I welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And in today's episode, the topic is, should the Lakers consider moving one of their star players for Damian Lillard? So that's the topic I'm going to get into in today's video. But before we get into that, I want you guys to please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. And also, if you want to talk about basketball and chat live during games, be sure to check out Dreamerspro Max, which we have linked in the description below. And also make sure you go ahead and click the join button to become a member of the channel. Anyway, let me get into this topic here. And before I even start, let me just quickly say, I know this is going to be a very controversial topic. A lot of people are going to be up in arms, but it's something I'm thinking and it's something I want to talk about. So we recently posted a poll on our Instagram account where we asked this very same question. And about 56% of the people voted that the Lakers should consider it. So I said to myself, okay, so this means that there's obviously a lot of people disagreed, but I thought to myself, I said, okay, so this is quite plausible to a group of people out there. So I said, okay, this would be a perfect topic to talk about because at least it's going to spark a debate. So let me just quickly say this. It's no secret that Damian Lillard may move this summer from the Portland Trail Blazers. Now we know that Dame, that's the team he started to play with. He started his career with. He's been with them for a number of years. I think at least 6 or 7 years or 8 years or so. He's been one of these players. It's very similar to Giannis Antetokounmpo that always said that, they want to win a championship with the team that they're with, and they're in it for the long run. But during this offseason, some things have happened. One of them was that I think Dame just felt like this team wasn't good enough to compete on a championship level. That's one thing that I think has been circulating out there. Obviously, there's a controversy surrounding the hire of their new coach, Chauncey Billups, who had a kind of a past that he had an allegation that I think he had in college or something like this. And, some Portland fans were upset that Damian Lillard didn't say anything about it. And Dame came out and said, I didn't even know about Chauncey Billups' past. And now you guys are looking at me sideways after all I've done for the city. And now you guys are looking at, looking at me this way. And he said, okay, that'll be noted. So, we know that that's also taking place in the background, and it could be one of the things that ultimately causes him to leave, apart from the fact that rumors have been circulating that he wants to be on a championship contender. So there's that. Now, it's no secret that Damian Lillard is one of the top 10, 12 players in the NBA today. This is no secret, right? And he's one of the most, he's one of the best players we currently have going. If I look at his career accomplishments thus far, he's a pretty accomplished basketball player. Given the fact that he's played about 8 years in the NBA, he's a 6-time All-Star. He's been on 1 All-First NBA team, 4 All-Second NBA teams, and a third All-NBA team. So he's been on 6 All-NBA teams, and he was the Rookie of the Year in 2013. But Damian Lillard is also known for putting up, huge numbers, and he's known for being a really clutch basketball player whenever he's in the playoffs. For example, just this year, he averaged 34 points per game in the playoffs, by the way, 34 points per game, 10 assists per game, 4.3 rebounds. He shot 94% from the free throw line. He shot 45% from the three and 46.3% from the floor. These were Damian Lillard's numbers this year in the playoffs in 6 games. So Damian Lillard is a hell of a player, right? And he is one of these guys that really shows up in a major way in the playoffs. Now, obviously, he's had some down years in the playoffs, especially that year where they played against the New Orleans Pelicans with Anthony Davis, and he didn't have such a great show out that year. But generally, Damian Lillard is a big-time player. You have seen him end series with his clutch shooting in the playoffs. You saw him end the Oklahoma City Thunder series where he scored 50 points in that closeout game with the step back 3 over Paul George, and he hit that shot in his face to close out that series. And obviously the big shot that he hit against the Houston Rockets to win this series, I think in Game 7. So Damian Lillard is a big time money player, right? There are very few players out there like him. Now, he is not the most decorated player. He's not as decorated, for example, as a Russell Westbrook or whatever it is. And I just think that Damian Lillard is in the era where there's so many great guards, and he's always been in the Western Conference where it's really, 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 really hard to beat out some of those guards that they have in the Western Conference. But he's certainly one of the top 10, top 12 players in the NBA. So anyway, let's get into the nuts and bolts of this entire thing, because I know some people are already, no. Let's get into it. So, as you know, The cap situation for teams is a very, very complicated thing, and I'm not going to spend this entire video breaking it down because, to be quite honest with you, it's just way too tedious and it's actually unnecessary. I think if some people want that information, you just got to hunt it down because there's a lot of moving parts, for me to get into. But anyway, let's just get into some of the basics here. So let's talk about Damian Lillard's salary. Okay, going into next season, the Portland Trail Blazers, or Damian Lillard, is expecting, because remember, he's under contract with these guys, he's expecting to earn $43,750,000 next year. The following year, in 2022-2023, he's expected to earn $47 million. And then in 2023-24, he's expected to earn about $50 million and then $54 million. So this guy is looking like he's probably going to make another probably $200 million over the next 4 years or so. That's what it's looking like. That's the outlook as far as his salary. And this is very important because obviously we're talking about whether or not the team can afford him. Now, let's look at the Lakers' current situation with the team. They do have a very high payroll. Their total cap is about $21,900,000 right now. Now, if we're looking at the current cap space, I think I had it here. I think is negative $9 million. That's what they're saying currently. The current cap space for the Lakers is negative $9 million. And this team is in the luxury tax. For those of you guys who don't know, the luxury tax essentially is a tax you pay per dollar for every dollar that you go above the tax. I think once you go beyond a certain threshold, it's something like, I think it's 75 cents on a dollar. And then I think once you go above that, it's like $1.50. It's crazy, right? And some teams end up paying a lot of money in the luxury tax. And one of the teams that ended up spending a lot of money on the luxury tax is the Brooklyn Nets when they had Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett. It was a ridiculous amount of money that they were spending in the luxury tax back then. Now, if you look at the Lakers' current salary situation, the Lakers also have some big salaries on their books, primarily LeBron James and Anthony Davis. LeBron James this season is slated to earn $41 million and next year $44 million, right? So then after that, he's off the books. And so that's that. And Anthony Davis is slated to earn 35 this year, 37, and then 40, and then 43. Right. So that's currently what the situation is like as far as the payroll, because remember, these guys have max contracts and they eat up the majority of the cap space that the Lakers have currently. Now, I'm using this video and I'm assuming one thing. I'm assuming that the Lakers can only afford to keep one, that they can't get all three of them. So that's the premise that's basically the starting point from which I'm coming from. So let's just assume that the Lakers can only afford to have two. They can't afford to have all three of them. That's basically what I'm assuming. So the question is then, who would they trade away? Would it be LeBron or would it be Anthony Davis? This is the question really essentially that I'm asking here. And I think it's a very tough one, a very, very tough one. Why? Because LeBron James is obviously the better player between Anthony Davis. LeBron James is a better player. The issue is that LeBron James is the older player. LeBron James is 36 years old currently. This December, meaning this coming season, LeBron is going to turn 37 years old, right? And they have him under contract for 2 more years. So that means that LeBron is actually slated to play until he's 38 years old with the Lakers. So he's going to be a very old player. So although he's a better player overall, he's still the older player. Anthony Davis, on the other hand, he's a younger guy. He's still in the middle of his prime. AD is only 28 years old. But the problem with AD is that, number one, he has his issues with his injuries, and number two, AD is just not really a leader, right? I'm not sure he's the guy that can lead a championship team. He's certainly a good player. He can be like a 1B to somebody's 1A, but I don't know if he can be a 1A. Now, he did very well in the playoffs last year, especially in the Western Conference Finals, but I'm not sure he can be the leading star on a championship team. He certainly has the talent to do it, but I'm not sure he has the the characteristics or the personality traits to be that type of player, to be quite honest with you. So that's the question I have around Anthony Davis, because we saw him in New Orleans, we saw him with Drew Holiday, and we saw how far they're able to get. Look at Giannis Antetokounmpo in the Milwaukee Bucks. So, we saw a similar thing, right? And he had a young and healthy DeMarcus Cousins with a Rajon Rondo, and they made a run, but they never really made any noise. I don't think they made it past the second round. So there's that. Now, if you pair Anthony Davis, however, with a Damian Lillard, who's still a very young player. If I look at Damian Lillard right now, I don't think Damian Lillard must be about 30 years old. Damian Lillard currently he's only 31 years old. He's only 3 years older than Anthony Davis, and he's still in his prime, right? Remember, LeBron James is about 5 to 6 years older than Damian Lillard. So Damian Lillard is the younger star, and I think Dame can be what Kobe was to Shaq if he played with an Anthony Davis, right? I think he could really help him, because Damian Lillard is a big time money player when he's in the playoffs. And really that's what we're talking about, because the Lakers, I'm assuming, are all about winning, right? And they want to win championships. They want to be able to contend for championships every single year. So the current scenario is this: LeBron James is the better player between him and Anthony Davis. However, he's getting older and LeBron will retire. So as a GM, I'm looking at this thing for the future. Right? I'm looking, okay, so how can I secure my future? Now, some people may say, wait a minute, if you keep LeBron James, although he's 37 years old, he's going to be 37 years old this year, he still gives us our best shot to win a championship at least next year. I don't know about the following year. He's going to be 38 years old. This guy is not, he's not Superman. So I think keeping LeBron gives the Lakers at least a legitimate shot to win a title at least next year. The following year, I don't think so. I think it's just going to be too old, and other teams are just going to be better. That's just my opinion. So if I'm the Laker GM and I'm thinking about the present moment right now, but I also have to think about the future down the road, 5 years down the road, where this organization will be, then Damian Lillard looks like a very attractive option. Why? Because if you get Dame, you now have 2 star players that are still in their prime, and you can always add a third star in the future. You can always do it, right? You can get a younger guy for a little bit less, because it's someone that's not going to command the salary of a LeBron James. Now, is that a guaranteed? No, but I think you can still do it, as you're currently entertaining the option of possibly getting Damian Lillard. Now, that scenario will arise in the future. So it's not like as if the Lakers won't be able to play the long game and still have an opportunity to go out there and recruit another star player. But if I'm looking at the future, given the fact that LeBron is getting older, it's something I would absolutely consider if I'm the Lakers GM. Now, I know it's a controversial thing, because essentially what we're saying is here, you would trade LeBron James for Damian Lillard? Just think about the firestorm that would create, that LeBron James in his last or second to last 2 years got traded to the Portland Trailblazers, right? It would be so controversial. So some people say you would never do that. So would you trade AD? Hell no, you wouldn't trade Anthony Davis, because he's a younger star. You don't trade away Anthony Davis. And you would trade him away for what? To win a title. You already won a title with Anthony Davis and LeBron James. So what new thing are you proving? You're just swapping out younger stars for another. I don't think you trade away Anthony Davis, because he does so much for you. So if it was me and I was a Laker GM, I probably would. Would it be the controversial thing to do? Yeah. But would it be the good thing to do? Probably. Now, I think so. Now, of all the GMs in the NBA, I think there's only one GM or president of basketball operations that would have the balls to do it, and I think that's Masai Ujiri. Masai Ujiri was the last president of basketball operations that swung for the fence, and he won big. Remember, he traded away DeMar DeRozan for Kawhi Leonard, who a lot of people thought was only going to be a one-year rental. He rolled the dice. He got Kawhi. Kawhi Leonard went to the Toronto Raptors. They won the title. They made history, right? That thing could have blew up in his face, because what could have happened is Kawhi could have gone to the Raptors and he could have lost and he could have left. Then you lose a DeMar DeRozan and there's nothing to show for it. But in this case, he swung for the fence. He got Kawhi Leonard. His gamble paid off because they won a title. He left, but at least you can say I won a championship, and we were able to accomplish something that we were not able to accomplish, given the fact we had many cracks at it with DeMar DeRozan in college, and it just never worked. We got this guy, we won the title, and it paid off, and he ended up looking like a genius. Yeah, they lost him, but I don't think those Toronto Raptor fans are going to be so angry that they lost DeMar DeRozan when they have that championship trophy in their case, right? So I think of all the executives in the NBA, I think he's probably the only one that would have the balls to do it, to be quite honest with you. But if I was a GM, I know it's a very controversial move, but if I'm thinking of the future of my team and trying to be competitive in the now and also in the future, it's something I would possibly do, and I'll probably do it. I would probably do it. Would it be controversial? Absolutely. But if you want to win, sometimes you have to make tough decisions. So that's my thoughts. So what I want to know from you guys is, what do you think and what would you do? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro. Wishing you guys an amazing day. Catch you guys on the next episode.